This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Frank Skinner Show with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. If you'd like to be part of this show in an interactive fashion, you can text us on 81215 and may well be incorporated. You can also, if you prefer the modern world, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or email that old baby. You can do that via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. All those little strands going out into the outside world. I love it.
Tendrils. Frank, I'm going to start with some praise.
Great word, tendril.
I love a tendril. I'm going to start with some praise. I know, I can read this because it's about you. Are we okay with this? It's not praising the radio show, it's praising another project.
Okay, that's fine.
Frank has a method that cuts through the pretension that can dog other teachings in poetry and go straight to the beauty. 1983 O-level war poet syllabus should have been so different if taught this way. Note, he did a similar thing on Portrait Artist.
Goodness.
There you go.
That's a nice start to the day.
Yeah.
Who was that from? Malcolm Muggeridge?
No. Oh, dear Malcolm.
No, lovely. That's lovely.
He doesn't get enough references on commercial radio breakfast shows.
He got a lot of references in my house growing up. There were wonderful people,
I'm sure,
the Muggeridges.
sure.
Good Catholic. It's my birthday next Friday, so I've received gifts from the team. And I was opening the gifts and I said something spontaneously this morning, God, I really like getting presents.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people forget how exciting it is to do it.
Do you want to say what you got, Frank?
Yes.
Some lovely gifts.
I got a book from the team. I got some literary socks. So these are socks that feature the likes of Marcel Proust and Virginia Woolf.
It's like if David Brent had read a book. That's the kind of vibe you're going to be going for.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm good with that. And then I got a book about the great cathedrals of Europe from Emily Dean. And from the team, I got the book of the Beatles Get Back documentary, which I've been absolutely wrapped up in for the last couple of weeks.
Frank, we've had a couple of questions in for you this morning. I'm going to start...
Quiz?
No, not a quiz.
Oh, I love a quiz.
Evil Dell.
Yeah?
He doesn't sound like he'd be welcome in your church, Frank. Given
It sounds like a spin-off Is it a spin-off series from Fools and Horses? It's like zombie Del Boy.
He's got sort of red eyes.
Oh, man, terrible.
Just Del.
Your plunker! Oh, man. It would have been great. He looked right for it now, David.
I imagine he will kill again. Given the proximity to Frank's birthday, timely, has he ever celebrated by attending a burn supper? It would be right up his straza. Poetry, music, rustic food, and maybe some dancing. I would love it if he attended one in London and reported back.
Well, that's a great idea. I went a step closer to that this week when I put a haggis on my Ocado order, especially for Burns Night. So I'm planning to have a Burns Night at home with me doing all the reading and maybe a little dancing, but only if I hit my thumb with a hammer.
Oh.
So I have. I've ordered that. You know that cosmic ordering that Noel Edmonds used to do. And just write a list of the things you want in life and they happen. I don't know if you've tried it.
Was that something
with
to do...
Ocado, it's about 70%, I find. But
he
still
used
good.
to see... What were the orbs Noel Edmonds' orbs?
Yes. It's a good title for a fanzine.
It sound like that. I'm sorry.
Yes, I can't remember what the orb. He's very cosmic, Noel Edmonds.
The orbs were his. I think they might have been relatives who are no longer with us.
Oh,
He would
okay.
see the orbs and resting on a shoulder or something.
I've got a stress ball that says, calm down, dear, in the voice of Michael Winner when you squeeze it. And I used to describe that as dead man in an orb. But I doubt if that was one of Noel's cosmic trick. Cosmic ordering, though. All you got to do is write the list. That's it. You don't have to do any sort of chanting or anything.
But where do you put it?
I think you have to send it to Santa.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We've had some other readers getting in touch, Frank.
Yes.
I don't quite know what to make of this one. Someone has got in touch, keen to know, essentially saying, has Frank Skinner ever interviewed Dame Edna Everage? It's from a chap called Will Black, who's keen to know. Will Black he's an anthro-journalist and author of Veneer of Civilization.
Okay.
He's very keen to know
He sounds like a hip dude.
what TV show.
I bet when he sent the email, he hadn't got socks on.
What TV?
What
yeah.
what was it again? A what?
He
now?
wants to know what TV.
No, what was the thing that Al just queried?
He called himself a throw journalist. I want to know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
He also wrote Psychopathic Cultures and Beyond the End. There you go.
We better keep on his side then. Yeah.
So he
No
wants-
is the answer.
Oh.
I've never done. What's the closest I've got? Kylie Minogue.
Well,
Paloma Faith, you feel, if you came back in 30 years' time, Paloma Faith will have something of the Dame Edna.
Catherine Mendelsohn says the only place I've seen Frank Skinner and Edna Everage together was on a show Rob Brydon hosted. They were both special guests on An Insider's View special. So you have actually appeared, possibly not in the studio together.
I bet it was Graham Norton.
Oh, do you
Whenever
think so?
people say that, it's always Graham Norton.
Oh, no.
I don't remember that at all. I don't even know the show. What was that Insider special? What's that about? MI5 documentary with Rob Brydon and Dame Edna Everage.
No, I think you were. I'm looking, you were on it, Frank.
No, I definitely weren't on it.
Friday, September the 11th, 2011, 10 p.m. Cast: Rob Brydon, Amy Spinks, Matt Lucas, Bill Bailey, Bruce Forsyth. Do you remember this?
No, I definited wasn't
Will
on
Young
it.
and Frank Skinner.
It wasn't me.
Do you think maybe it's a clip show and they've just dropped you in?
Yeah, maybe it was a clip show, yeah.
You were on a show with Bruce Forsyth and Matt Lucas.
I remembered Will Young. Will Young, I discovered. I was interviewing Will Young and they gave me some photos of him to choose from. And on my desk, when they were upside down, his mouth looked more like a real human mouth than when it was the right way up. So like God or whoever you believe in, put the mouth on the wrong way round on Will Young. Yeah.
Al, I've got something to tell you. I need to get this
I was quite
off.
happy with the ecclesiastical tone that the show took for a moment there. I like that.
Well, I've got something I need to get off my chest. You know, Frank likes to give his helpful advice.
I think I have done this to Al. It's a very bad habit.
So can we establish some examples of when Frank gives his, quotes, helpful advice? He went up to Andrew Lloyd Webber and gave him advice for The Curtain Call at one of his musicals.
Yeah.
I suggested to Tim Key that he should come back on for the encore dressed as a baked bean, as a bat reference to something that happened in the show.
You did it to Ross Noble once as well.
Well, I think it's good to help.
What did you say to Ross Noble?
I can't imagine in.
What he'll do, he'll go backstage and he'll say, "Oh, you say the usual great show," and Frank say, "Yeah, it's just one thing." And when he says that, I just feel like throwing up. Do you want to know where he did it this week? Guess where he did it this week?
Well, let's make that a cliffhanger.
It makes me ill. I feel ill.
We'll come back.
Worst
to
one
that.
he's ever done.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Can I say our producer's got a sweatshirt with a slogan on, Frank? Have you seen what it says?
Northern, it says.
That's helpful. I might wear one so southern.
That is how it begins. We have to have our regional labels on. Next thing you know, it'll be names, professions, religions. Am I right, Al?
I'd be all right with names, actually. That would do me a favour.
Well, I'd be good. Names and professions would have been...
It's helpful to know. Sarah's got Northern. I'm just going to have Absolute Nightmare on my sweatshirt.
All right.
Is that the new gothic radio station that you're hosting? That would have been good if it was just goth rock.
Talking of Absolute Nightmare, Frank gave
He
some
left
of his...
us on a cliffhanger where Frank was improving something. He does this with comedy and the theatre.
I just think if you see a comic and they do a joke and you think it could be better, I think it's a community spirit thing to say, have you thought about saying blah blah instead?
Okay.
They're free to reject it.
Fine. If you see a comic, where do you stand, Al, if you're at a funeral and someone's given a eulogy?
Yeah, but
how do you like
rather
them
than
apples?
Stop all the clocks. Did you not think of this poem? Is that what you did?
no,
Frank, do you want to give your version of events and then I'll give mine?
Emily and I went to David Baddiel's dad's funeral, which was a fabulous event because it was
Beautiful.
there was a lot of laughs because he was a very funny bloke, and I just didn't get Dave's opening gag. Dave did a gag. I want to make this absolutely clear because he lives in my road. It was a funny speech.
It was a brilliant speech.
I didn't get the first gag, and he said, I just threw it away. But of course, no comedian ever throws a joke away.
Frank.
And then, of course,
you
he had to chat forensically about it.
I just thought, when you do your next eulogy, this will be helpful.
It was the most Curb Your
And I want him to
Enthusiasm
get it
thing
right.
ever. I walked over, I saw Frank, I almost vomited. I just heard him saying, the thing is, when you start, I thought he's not.
Look, I want David Baddiel to get his eulogies up to speed because if we had a vote on who his next eulogy was going to be for, I'd be up there, let's face it. So...
It was a very fine speech, and it was a beautiful eulogy, and I'm pointing that out only because David asked me to.
Oh, right. Fair enough.
No, it was lovely there, wasn't it? And Ivor, his brother, spoke.
It was. I tell you what was kind. Well, I'll tell you after this because the producer's doing that thing of pinching that fleshy bit under my armpit.
Oh yeah.
But there was something that really, you get a moment of revelation when the clouds part and the sun shines through, and you think, oh yeah, of course, that happened. I love it when that happens.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I had to stop myself saying to David Baddiel's kids were there, obviously Ezra and lovely Dolly, and I had to stop myself. I nearly said it, Frank.
What was that?
I nearly said, aren't you tall?
Oh, yes.
Oh, the old auntie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it? You've either got the trouble is they've both left school now, kind of. So
Yeah.
you can't say
He
the
is
old.
tall, though,
How's
isn't
it
he?
going at school?
What are the questions, Al? What do you do? What have you got in your locker for the encountering young people?
Yeah, I'm not quite at the my haven't you grown state.
Well, I'll tell you what's died out, the ruffling of the hair on boys, because boys now have got product in and stuff.
Oh, you can't touch the hair.
The old ruffle of the school. What are you doing, Johnny?
Johnny?
That's what they were all called.
You were going
Anyway,
to
let
tell
me
us
get
something
your
lovely.
Yeah. Let me tell you
There's
this.
a lot of gel in there.
Yeah, oh, God, there's a lot of that. You don't want to not be able to get your hand out, like when Spider-Man suddenly realises he's becoming Spider-Man, he starts sticking to stuff. Anyway,
Exactly.
so at the end of the funeral, they played the Goons, the Ying Tong song.
I loved
Ying
it.
Tong, Ying Tong. And I suddenly had a revelation, because I've been watching this Beatles programme obsessively. John Lennon is absolutely... He can't stop doing... Oh, Eddie, oh God, and all these voices and that all the time, and announcements. And he's shot through with the Goons, John Lennon. As was Dave's dad. Dave's dad was always saying these little funny phrases and things. And I think the Goons kind of Here's my view. I'm going to give it you quick. After World War One, people were so horrified by what had happened that modernism happened, which was like James Joyce, T.S. Eliot, the idea of changing the whole view of the world, giving up on language and everything. I think after World War Two, people thought the best way to deal with it was to go, Neddy, and all that. And there's a whole generation of blokes who fought in the war going, what, and all that stuff. And the terrible tragedy of it all is one of them is, it's all about rebelling against formality and being told what to do, being ridiculous and silly. And the one bloke who's mad on the goons is Prince Charles, who is, so he's got all that goonery trapped inside him. He's dying in speeches to go, oh, I didn't know. And he can't do any of it. That he will explode.
Well, do you know what? His goon soul should be allowed to sing openly.
I think so as well.
I'm with you on that, Frank.
I have a feeling that when he was dating the young, beautiful Diana, he made her listen to the goons, though, and stuff like that. It was just tough for a young girl.
Do you know? See, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, but you're a different breed altogether.
But would you?
Different kind of gal.
But you see, having a goon soul when you're in an establishment like that is tricky.
But I think what happened was goonery was starting to die down, and then they threw in Monty Python to keep it going again.
What the hell are people thinking of this? Listen
Sorry, this is a social commentary with Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Living history on Radio 4.
I'm sorry. We'll go back to saying silly things and noises.
What's the bosses going to say? They're going to be listening to
They'll be all right. They're doing absolute social history. Absolute post-war. Absolute post-war responses. What about if they brought that out? I don't know what the music would be. It'd just be Jonah Louie over and over again. So anyway, I'm sorry, that won't happen again.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We've had this message in from Jamie Wood.
Jamie Wood, of course. I know that name.
Do you remember?
Yes. Jamie Wood offered me scale-extric-based advice last week.
Well, Jamie Wood is very good in what I call aftercare.
Oh.
I usually apply that to the dating world, but that's a whole other story.
Well, you're the first person I've ever heard use that phrase. What happens after someone dumps you? What's their aftercare like?
Aftercare is everything. It's crucial.
Yeah.
I believe it's something... I believe, I'm afraid, footballers talk about aftercare. It's to stop people being cross,
Oh, so they don't
just
go
practice aftercare. Always practice. Well, you should just out of decency practice decent aftercare.
I always think with relationships, a full stop is better than a ... though.
Well, there's a full stop, but you can have a classy full stop. I mean, I'll think about whether to tell this story on air, but I once had some genius aftercare.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll let that marinate, and hopefully it'll come out.
Jamie Wood. The big birthday question, a week early, but anyway, because he's on Friday. The big birthday question for Frank on the radio is: did the scale-extric fix work?
Well, I've got to tell you. Is it actually from Jamie Wood? Because Jamie Wood said what happened, in case you didn't listen last week, is my son received a Batman versus the Joker scale-extric set, and for some reason I've been playing with it successfully for about a week. The Joker would only reverse. Such is his anarchic life view. Anyway, so it was we couldn't work it out, and the underbrush got all squidgy and wrong. So what happened was Jamie said, turn the whole thing round, and if you turn it the wrong way, it'll break, and if you turn it the right way, it'll mend it. So it's a lot of pressure on me and my dad mending.
Like a sort of I'm picturing like a wire cutting moment on the bomb disposal scene in a film.
It was like I was wearing a stethoscope. Which I had on the bottom of the car. But you know what? I've got to say, Jamie, thank you so much. It was a great success. I managed to choose the right way, and now the Joker is back in action. So isn't that one of the joys of having this show is that people can reach out and help each other?
And I seem to remember
help
you
you.
didn't really want us to discuss it a lot on air, but I insisted, and we got lots of humour out of it and resolution. What a nice thing.
No, you're right. You were absolute. I was wrong and you were right. Al. I give you that. Fair enough, mate.
Okay.
I was just interested in the theatre of the mundane, which I enjoy. Hey, we've had an update on somebody who is a fan of the Goons.
Oh, yeah.
And says, "Hi all, re-Goonery, it's alive and well, and where I work on the railway at Cambridge. Many a silly voice to be heard, all in jokes. Radio 4 Extra still play the Goons.
Do they?
I was brought up on it through my granddad and father, they say. Still makes me and my mates laugh."
Well, I'm going to have to check it out.
I think that counts as one of our late reviews.
Well, I'll tell you what I used to watch when I was a kid on the telly, which is something maybe we could think of doing for this show, was a puppet show called The Telegoons, which I think was the radio scripts turned into a puppet show. I think it was the actual radio shows themselves.
Right.
And then they used puppets to say the stuff. You never hear the there's no.
A bit of our.
I suppose people like Prince Charles thought that was an outrage to make it a visual thing. Nearly dropped his kilt tool, whatever that's called. You know that thing you have to put a kilt on with? Looks a bit like the orange thing that you use
What's
for
that?
taking Lego bricks.
Oh, what's that? What, the sporran?
No, I think there's actually like when I was fitted for a kilt, I had to kneel in the changing room.
Did you indeed?
So I hadn't got the money, you see.
Did you? Oh, my.
And that's how they measure. That's how they measure the length of a kilt. That when you kneel, it should touch the floor.
Why do they have that safety pin as well on the side? Silly, that.
Well, these are the questions, of course. There'll be more from Frank Skinner's Scottish quiz tomorrow night on Radio Aberdeen, where granite sounds great. Oh dear, that's one of the strangest first hours we've ever done on this show. It felt like the Goons. Made the Goons sound a bit straight. We'll be all right after the break. Sorry, everyone.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily D. It's actually called Kenneth Williams.
Is it?
Anyway, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio. No, via frank at absoluteradio.co.uk. I went into the old message from the past, easily done.
Well, I think if
just
David
saying,
Baddiel's listening
at
at
the
home,
end-
he should ring in with some advice just on how you could do the.
Yeah, you're right. Go on now.
I'd like to point out that you ended the last hour saying that the first hour had been weird, and then opened with an anecdote about a cat called Kenneth Williams.
Yeah,
and
I need a ramp.
Changing the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a ramp from weird. I can't just jump. I can't make the mighty leap.
What about this from 378? Pete in Guildford. He might do the job. The safety pin on a kilt is a piece of jewellery that is used to weigh it down to stop it blowing in the wind. The lower corner is known as an apron, and it would all blow open without it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't want your Scottish gentleman having one of those, is it Marilyn Monroe moments?
No, you don't want that.
Standing over the... You don't want that.
I thought Scottish gentleman was a euphemism. It is now.
There is...
Yes.
I can't think of any way of saying this in a clean way, so I'm not going to say it.
That's never stopped you. The producer shook her head as you said that.
Oh, there you go. But what did that mean? Like a horse shakes its head when it's... I'm going to try again. Not bad horse impression. The producer put my headphones on during the thing, and they're bigger than they were, and she completely denied she'd adjusted them.
I still can't decide
She
whether...
has a massive bouffant hairdo, I should point out.
Careful when you say that. Shall I tell you about my aftercare briefly?
Yes.
I think I should share it with you. Do you want to hear it, Al?
If you've just tuned in, this is about the theory that if you have cause to dump someone, which is always an awful thing, it is a myth that it's worse for the person who's doing it than the person who's getting it. But Emily put to me some time ago, there should be a thing called aftercare, which is where you get a bit of post-dumping nurturing.
Yeah, it's how you...
on-nurturing.
You shall be remembered by the manner of your departure. And I had some lovely aftercare once. It was a gentleman. I think it's fair to say the liaison had been brief.
Okay.
As brief as is possible, really.
Oh, really? That brief?
Dangerous.
It was...
Do you still need aftercare after that?
Oh, that's when aftercare's most important.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it just a cooked breakfast, or am I being too laddie?
For me, it's an Uber.
Booked by your PA.
No, anyway.
So, this...
there was no Uber when I was doing that sort of thing. I think I'd have had to get her a handsome cab.
Penny farthing.
I shall call you a cab, my dear.
You would have had like a Flintstones, like a pterodactyl driving it. So, essentially, this gentleman, and I'm going to call him that because his behaviour, I think, was very gentlemanly. We had the briefest of liaison. A few days later, you're waiting. You're at work in those days, waiting for the phone to ring. Phone call came, there none. I'm getting the message. But he's obviously worked out we're going to see each other again. We were in similar worlds, I'll tell you off air. And he did something which I think now, in hindsight, was very clever. I got a phone call from his secretary. So already he's putting up a slight boundary. But I still got the phone call.
From his secretary? That's good.
And then he said... the secretary said, "Hello, Mr. X would very much like to invite you to a football game." I said, "Oh, how lovely." He wasn't playing, can I say?
No,
he wasn't a footballer. He would very much like to invite you to a football game. He's got a box and he'd like to go. I said, "Oh, this is lovely, thank you." I'm getting excited. I'm planning what to wear. I'm sort of planning
the way. It's like the general election, putting your ex in a box.
Yeah.
You need something for that. Come on, a jingle.
What about this?
Congratulations.
Can we stop it there? The producer is really getting very shirty.
Well, I think this is
northern sweat shirty.
We can leave this on.
We'll leave it there. You've been offered a box at the game by the man who. Well, anyway, the man. Okay. More soon.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were mid anecdote. So you've had a liaison. You've had a call from his secretary.
Yeah.
I like that. And you've been invited to a box at a football game.
Yeah. It was at Spurs, actually. Wrong team, but that's all right.
Okay, yeah. And
I thought, this is classy. This is good. He's left it a few days. He's got the secretary to call, but he's invited me on a date to the football. And in a box, no less. So I said I'd be delighted to come. His secretary said, "Lovely. He's just asked as well, do feel free to bring a +1.
Oh.
I see.
And I said, OK. And then I put the phone down and I realised it was an absolute masterclass in aftercare. Because what he'd done is invited me, but by saying bring a date, essentially, he's making it clear.
Yeah, it's much better than asking his secretary to say, by the way, he said, don't get any funny ideas. It's better than that, isn't it?
That's essentially what he was saying.
Yeah, if anyone said that to me...
Although, are we certain? Are we certain that that's what he was saying? I mean...
Oh, now you tell me out.
Are we sure that he wasn't saying not so much les liaisons dangereuses, but more manoir?
No,
No, oh no! I hope he wasn't. I hope he wasn't saying that.
Not at the football.
What? No, no.
And I tell you who
Keep
it is.
it reminded at the football, will you?
Not three at the back. If it was Pochettino, Pochettino, he'd
God.
never have played that.
As I once heard at Arsenal, keep it simple, Morrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
Exactly.
let's return to the outside world, Frank Skinner.
Well, everyone has to eventually.
Yeah, we do. We've had some correspondence, haven't we, Al? Did you see the Tony the Tiger correspondence?
Sounds.
I did. Please hold forth.
Well,
Regale us.
Julie Maguire, she is a Yorkshire woman exiled in Virginia, USA.
Okay.
Long-time listener. Was thrilled to hear you mention the time you went to Wembley with David Baddiel and a somewhat under-the-weather Tony the Tiger. For indeed, I can confirm that it was the old Wembley Stadium they attended for the England versus
was
Poland
it?
Euro 2000 qualifier, because I was that Tigers keeper. Working at the time for Kellogg's and Frosty's PR company. We're not getting paid. This is just in the context of the editorial. Our team...
We're not Jess and Eve Gale.
No.
Are we?
Our team was
I
tasked...
say we're not Jess and Eve Gale.
Our team was tasked with getting Tony into unexpected places with celebrity friends
Oh.
in an effort to raise his profile.
Oh, nice.
If my memory serves me well, Tony had also recently attended London Fashion Week to make his catwalk debut.
Oh, nice. He'd also been a stunt double for Julie Goodyear.
Oh, very. Much to our client's satisfaction, we managed to secure the obligatory paparazzi pictures of Frank, David and Tony having a great time.
Yes.
Picture enclosed. I've got it here. We should put it up on the socials.
Oh.
Before Tony slinked off tail between his legs for his cat nap. However, I have serious doubts as to whether Tony's exhaustion, which Frank referred to last week, was caused by being the Pink Panther the week before, as intimated by Frank.
I'm only quoting T, the T.
Or
T,
whether
treble T.
it was having recently spent time out on the toon with England legend Paul Gascoigne.
Okay.
Readers, you decide.
I
Despite this
see.
happening more than 20 years ago, there is one thing I can recall from that day with absolute certainty regarding Frank Skinner. I think we need to leave people on a cliffhanger with this, because it's quite something.
It's been a real cliff. Is that supposed to be? Oh, God, it's all very chaotic this morning.
Just wait
I
till-
feel like in a minute my alarm clock will go off. And this has just been some odd dream.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I left us once again. We've had some extraordinary cliffhangers already
have.
this morning. We've had what was the specific bit of aftercare I enjoyed after a one-night liaison.
Yeah.
We now...
I don't think we actually established it was one night, but there it is.
Legend!
There it is recorded. Okay. What a whole night.
Whole night.
Love is in the air.
Julie Maguire has got in touch with her email entitled I Was That Tiger's Keeper.
Oh, yes.
She has established that she was looking after Tony the Tiger on the day Frank and David were at Wembley with him for, I think it was England v Poland Euro 2000 qualifier. She says there's something she recalls from that day with absolute certainty, and this is with regard to Frank Skinner.
I'm a little edgy about this, but carry on.
Aren't we all, dear?
Yeah.
Do you want to know what it is, Al?
Yeah, go on, fire away.
Al?
Yeah.
Okay. Here
Yes.
we go. Good luck, everyone. Frank's insistence, not a good start.
Yeah.
Frank's insistence that we had the worst England seats he had ever sat in. Good times. Praise redacted, Julie. Julie, I can't apologise enough.
Well, I don't think that's... I think I'm just making a point, probably. I mean, the reason that old Wembley became new Wembley is there were some rubbish places to sit there. But when you're with, the cover boy of one of the country's top-selling cereals, you expect,
Yeah.
you expect to be having in a good spot. I'm just
I'm just
saying.
gutted I didn't run into him at London Fashion Week on the catwalk.
I mean, I'd love to have seen him at London Fashion Week.
I wish he had. You know when people struggle to cross a leg, especially with a large, thick onesie.
Well, I was at a party at Gary Lineker's house once when he challenged Will Carlin to cross his legs. Will Carlin, the England rugby captain.
Oh, and how was it?
He couldn't do it. His thighs were so muscular.
He wouldn't be allowed on the front row then.
He couldn't do it. No, that was one of the great regrets of his
Do you mean
life.
front row as in rugby or front row as in fashion?
Yeah.
Are you talking about scrums?
Well, it is something of a scrum, let me tell you.
I mean, it's a great reason for not being able to cross your legs is that you're so muscular. If you're going to have, a reason for not being able to.
Muscular, is that what you call it?
Well, they were like that hard, like this.
He was a big unit, wasn't he?
Oh, man. A big what?
Unit.
Oh, a unit. Okay.
What did you think I said?
I think you said eunuch.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Of course, you know what I should have said when I said goodbye to Tony the Tiger?
Go on.
Do you remember we did a thing that... we read a thing from Justin Toper, the astrologist. We read a thing on the show from his Twitter
Yes.
saying that he said, I have a new catchphrase when saying goodbye. Stay frosty. That would have been a great one for Tony the Tiger. And, of course, anyone who was cryogenically preserved who you were saying goodbye to.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. We've just put up this
I'd
picture
like to
now.
bring a... Oh, go on.
Oh, no, I'm just saying we've just put up this picture of Tony the Tiger with a... we're getting so many... They're great.
Of course.
It's a lovely picture of you
Yeah.
and David.
Is it? Well, everyone looks good when they stand next to a faux tiger. I would have thought.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Good point. That's probably why he went to London Fashion Week.
I went to London Fashion Week. I was escorted by a woman who you may recall, Tanya Breyer.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great because Tanya Breyer knew all the ins and outs of the fashion houses. So she'd say to me, they caused a bit of a sensation last year with a high collar. So everyone's looking to see. And there's all that stuff. And of course, if ever you're with someone who's in the know, it makes things much more interesting.
What was your association? Was it a relationship?
No, it was a. I think she was writing up going to London Fashion Week with Frank Skinner. That was her.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, very nice woman.
I wish I'd read that article. OK Magazine, London Fashion Week. This week with Frank Skinner.
I think that's what it was all about. Anyway,
Okay.
It might have just been a date. Don't think so.
Okay. Back to our
I'd like
studio.
to bring your attention to a story that caught my ears this week. I heard people on the radio talking about a dog that was rescued from a dangerous area using a sausage attached to a drone.
Yes.
Now, I appreciate that Frank has already several times today thought he was dreaming, and this may not be helpful because it sounds like a dream, doesn't it? But they actually tied a cooked sausage to a bit of string and then teased a Jack Russell off some dangerous mud flats in Pompey, Portsmouth.
It's
Amazing.
It's one of those stories where when the person thought of that idea, I bet there was some initial giggling, and then and he had to say no, or she had to say no, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I think that would work. It's so they got a. This is something I was shocked about. There is an organisation called the Den. What's the name of the place they're at? Denmere, is it? Anyway,
Yes.
It's the Drone Search and Rescue Team. I didn't know drones had become a part of search and rescue. That passed me by.
I thought they were just used to bother neighbours with.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Katie Price told me she had one of her own, and Katie Price used to send the drone out to make sure to see if there was paparazzi outside the front gate, and if there wasn't, she stayed in.
Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Speaking of surprises, dog rescued by sausage on string, flown over by drone, was his story we're discussing at the moment. I was interested that the guy, the Chris Taylor, the chair of the drone search and rescue team, said, it was a sausage someone got from Aldi's. Aldi, is it? And I thought, are you doing a read? He's doing a read for... You know what I thought? I thought, are you Jess and Eve Gale?
Yeah.
I should say Jess and Eve Gale are two sisters from Love Island who have been reprimanded, I think, for doing tweets and things that are really adverts, but they haven't. You have to say if you're doing an advert, I think.
Yes.
Oh dear.
And we would.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
So I don't know if Chris Taylor was doing an advert for Aldi, but another thing that got me as well, you'll get this, I think those who know the show well, was they had to wait for a local resident to cook the sausage. Now, as you know, as children in our house, my brothers and sister and I we used to eat raw sausages.
Yes.
So if it's good enough for us, I don't. Why would you have to cook the sausage?
Yeah, but you do sometimes have this attitude, Frank. It'll be like, we walked for 17 miles with no shoes and blisters. It's good enough for us.
I know, but this is a dog, remember?
I know, but
have
some
a
of the
theory
things he
about
said
this.
about dogs, Al, he said in the past, we didn't need leads. They just went off on their own all day. It was good enough for us.
We encouraged
They were
independence.
very free range.
They were free
the
range.
dogs were very free range.
Exactly.
I have a theory about the cooking of the sausage, though.
Okay.
Surely, if they're using the sausage on a string to tempt the dog off the dangerous area, a cooked sausage is smellier, so the dog will be like, oh, I'll run that way. Is that not what they did?
Oh, I
Yes.
see.
The dog's not going to go, oh, a raw sausage is over there.
You could
Exactly.
still smell. Our dog, we feed it on raw meat, and
Okay.
Yeah.
she seems enthusiastic.
Okay.
I say
Your
raw
dog's
meat.
like a...
Stray cats. No, not really.
Frank, I mean...
No, I wouldn't. No, it gets. We get it. She gets half a carton of raw meat a meal,
Okay.
and seems very happy with it. So I think a dog would be allured by.
Not my
yeah.
dog.
Wouldn't like a raw sausage.
Oh, my dog
No.
insists on... My dog will only eat hot food. I have to cook his food in the saucepan.
Wowee.
Yeah. Before I eat,
It's,
I have to cook his food. I've given him cold food before. He turns his nose up.
Well,
is that why you were saying you were off air? You were considering hiring a chef for your dog when you're busy.
He honestly would not eat something like an old sausage or something. He would
well,
never.
if ever he gets trapped in what was it, quicksand or something?
Quicksand!
So-
Frank, it's not a 70s comic book. Quicksand!
Quicksand, I think, does exist, surely, doesn't it? It's
Not
a
for
thing.
50 or so years. What happened to quicksand?
Quicksand is one of the few things I can think of where I know I know the big don't. Don't struggle.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Matt Ford saying to me once on my podcast, he
You've
said,
got Matt Ford crazy
I
this
have.
morning.
I've got meningitis.
Yeah.
But I remember him saying to me, we just don't hear of quicksand anymore.
Well,
He's
there you
right.
go. I think it's in other countries, but you wouldn't. What was this dog?
Country.
This dog was just in mud flats, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But used the sausage. I think Les Dennis tried it to get Amanda Holden back. The sausage on the drone. I think sometimes you have to accept they've gone.
Well, and to bring it back round to dogs, don't you remember when I sent my dog away to the country dog hotel and a photograph was sent to me of him with Les Dennis?
Oh, is that right?
And you said, is he doing comedy at the dog hotel?
Oh, no. No, I saw Les Dennis recently.
I love Les Dennis.
In HMS Pinafore at the Coliseum. He was very fine.
It's fabulous.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner, by the way, on Absolute Radio. You can text the show on 8 12 15. I love it when they do that.
So do I.
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, likewise. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. Mother.
Do you ever watch TV before coming in here?
Yes, always.
Oh, so do I. I watched Mark Kermode this morning. Did you see him?
No, I switched him off for Sky Sports News.
I noticed something about Mark Kermode, which I love, which is a certain type of man. He has a brooch, but it's a guitar, a silver
No, he
guitar.
always wears that. I think that's significant, I think. And he wears that small model of a surfer on the top of his quiff.
And he was in a band with David Baddiel at school.
Was he really?
Yes, I've
Right.
discussed this before.
Can I tell you a story that this is on the subject of the scent of smell that dogs have compared to humans. I was talking to Claudio, who's the geologist who lives next door to me, and he's always telling me science facts, and he gives Buzz science books and things. He's really into all that mega time, and we were talking. I was out with my dog, and he said. He said, some people, he said, I was listening to a lecture by blah, 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 science lecture. He said, some people, if you put a spoonful of sugar in their tea, they claim that the tea smells differently. They can smell the sugar in their tea.
Yeah.
And that's seen as very acute sense of smell in a human being. He said, a dog, according to this lecture, you could put a spoonful of sugar in 2 Olympic swimming pools of water and the dog would be able to smell the difference.
Wow.
See, I think I've got canine olfactory senses because I can honestly, when we're doing this, Al, I'm not lying, I can smell if the flat opposite Absolute Radio are cooking garlic and onions.
I know you've said that to me before. I smell that cooking from across the road and I think, what?
And you can't smell it. And I think
I
that's
can't.
my sense of smell, it actually causes me problems. It's so finely tuned.
But why do these creatures with this acute sense of smell need to get like 3 mil from other dogs' behinds? I mean, you'd think that would be such overload that it would knock them unconscious. That's very odd. I find that seems to be contradictory.
It causes problems when you have a very highly developed sense of smell.
Did I tell you once I was out walking with Kath, my partner? We used to go on lots of walking holidays, still do.
Yeah.
And we could smell aniseed.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to her, well, they must have... does aniseed grow on bushes or trees? I can really smell it strong. And suddenly we had this... and these about 7 enormous hounds approaching us. It was really quite frightening. We had to step out the way and they shot past us on the path. And... it was all very confusing. And then we saw these blokes and we realised that they were training these dogs to follow a scent using aniseed. Just happened to be using a public footpath.
Yeah.
But then we walked a bit further and there was another dog, one of these hounds, who was just frolicking on its own in a section of grass, hadn't picked up the aniseed and was just joyfully skipping around. And I think me and Kath both thought, that's us, isn't it?
Yeah.
The rest of the world driven, powering forward with focus, and we frolic. It's quite a bonding moment, I thought.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Ultra Magnus, one of our regulars, has got in touch regarding the story about Millie, the dog, and the sausage.
Oh, Millie, I didn't get the name.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Millies, especially in the North London area. You get trampled by the rush if you call out Millie in North London.
Well, we got a poppy, and there's a lot of poppies.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's not many Raymonds.
No, I
It's
bet.
quite weird.
There's very few Kenneth Williams in the cat world. That could be a one-off.
Respect.
Ultra Magnus.
Yes.
You're familiar with Ultra Magnus, one of our beloved regulars.
Who once met us outside the studio.
Charming.
With his good lady wife.
What's happened to you?
Well, Pippi used to say his good lady wife. That used to be a thing.
Yeah.
My worst thing, and I will write someone off, is if I meet a gentleman of a certain age and he says, and I don't believe you've met my lady. Oh, my lady. It's very Howard's way, my lady. Ultra Magnus. I don't think raw sausage meat has the structural... I'm going to start that again because it was terrible. I don't think raw sausage meat has the structural integrity to survive being dangled below a drone.
But raw sausage...
hold your high horses.
Oh.
A cooked sausage is much more rigid.
Yes, but... I didn't say sausage meat. I meant a raw sausage was what I said. And so you've still got the skin... One could argue it would hold on even better because I think the skin is more likely to break on a sausage, cooked sausage, than it is on a raw one.
Yeah.
We used it like
this.
Sorry?
Go on.
We used it like when we used to eat raw sausage, we used the skin like... Do you remember Tip Tops? I don't know, they probably call them something else in London. They were like frozen things that came in a long, thin frozen things, and you ate them out the packet. We ate the sausage like that.
Oh, those sort of ice pops, yeah.
Yeah, like ice pops.
Ruth?
The more you retell these stories, the more gross I find it.
Well, I tell you what, recently, I'll see what you think about this. I cooked some sausages and I forgot to prick them. And I've always pricked sausages because I understood that if you don't, they explode. Split.
Right.
You get those horrible, sort of terrible open wounds on the side of a cooked sausage. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes they look like mouths. You can see that like a lip. And nothing happened whatsoever. They cooked fine. No need for that.
That's fine.
And I just thought the time I've wasted pricking sausages. Was that wasted? I cut a cross at the end of a Brussels sprout.
Of course.
Is that a waste of time?
Wow. Waste of time.
I cut a cross on the top of a chestnut before it goes in the oven.
What about a baked potato?
No, but they explode, chestnuts, don't they? Surely. I'm wasting my time. This is food prep. This is the full level of my food prep, is those three things.
I mean, I don't really get involved with cooking chestnuts because I'm not a Victorian squire.
Okay, well, I'm thinking it's a very sort of bonfire night thing to do, and I choose it.
How's your venison pie and your quail?
I'd rather cook chestnuts than an effigy of a Roman Catholic freedom fighter. That's my view.
That escalated.
Anyway.
Frank, do you want to hear what Ruth Jordan briefly has to say?
I do. The producer's getting on my back about talking too much.
Well, just this quickly. I love the fact this is regarding a photo that has been put up on social media of yourself, David Baddiel, and Tony the Tiger. Ruth points out, I love the fact that someone has written Tony with a pen on Tony the Tiger's scarf. Like they had the costume made and then thought, what if people don't recognise him? We better write his name on it.
I think he probably went into wardrobe and there's several other character scarves in there, and that's why he's got his name on. He doesn't want to come out wearing a Rupert scarf accidentally. So I think that's like, when you send your kids to school, they've got to have their name tags. I think that's what happened with Tony.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
What else?
You know what? I tell you what else. I would love to take a little stroll down Previously Lane.
Oh, yes. Now, this is when people write in about stuff that's happened on last week's show, sometimes shows before that. It gives the whole thing... Some people, they listen to the show on the podcast. They miss out on my fabulous musical choices, but there you have it. And then they respond.
Sorry.
So we don't...
I don't think he was offering that for you to laugh at.
No, that was serious.
Sincere.
That was utterly sincere. And I don't do utterly sincere that often.
No.
Not on this show.
And then you do, and she chuckles.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what they like.
Yeah.
So...
It's all right when they do it.
So we're down in Previously Lane.
We don't have. Sadly, we don't have a jingle for previously.
You're quite good at spontaneous comedy. Come on, Frank, come up with one.
Okay, then. Here we go.
Hello.
That was fairly previously, and there's lots of people who've got previous for kung fu fighting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there?
I think so.
I want to take us back to 15th of January, 2022. Three-wheel cars. This is from which we were discussing, you may remember. Ian McDonnell in Preston. Listening to your comments regarding the three-wheelers, my dad used to have a Bond mini three-wheeler made in my hometown of Preston. And to start it, he had to open the bonnet. Sorry. Open the bonnet.
Yeah.
Climb into the engine bay and then kickstart it like a motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
Imagine when it stalled at the lights.
But was there a problem with it, or was that how they worked?
I have no idea. Perhaps, Ian, if you could furnish us with any more information.
And this was a Bond, did you say?
This was a Bond mini three-wheeler.
Okay.
Are you familiar with those?
No, I don't know the
not
Bond.
either.
There was a fabulous thing, unless it's the Bond bog he's talking about. The Bond bog was an orange car that looked like a wedge of cheese. And it was in the sort of, it would be one of the forerunners of the smart car. And it was regarded, I think they pitched it as being quite cool. But I don't know if it was, I think that he might have had a Bond bog. That's.
I wonder if that, if owning one of those would either make me hungry or make me want to play Trivial Pursuit more.
It was a similar size, I must say. Oh, I haven't even thought of a Bond bog for all those years. If anyone else has got any Bond bog information.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Do you remember, are we still in previously? Because, good, I'd like to stay there. Because, Al, we've had some fabulous correspondence re the Ain't chair.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to remind everyone?
Yeah, we talked about which celebrities did we think would unironically use the word ain't. Like, I ain't going there. When people say stuff like that, it's a bit Five Live.
We've got a few. We've got King of the Ain't chair. This is a nominee from Russ Appleby, who refers to himself as Prisoner 937. He's nominating Pete Waterman.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I think he's used it in every interview I've ever seen him in. E.g., speaking of Rick Astley, I said to him, you ain't never beating that kid.
In fact, when I once did a sketch, a pop idol sketch, I had a chat show before the war, and I remember being Pete Waterman in that, and I said...
I think it was with Britney Spears.
Britney Spears was and I said, and you ain't going to be a pop idol. So, yeah, he was an ain't, very much an ain't guy.
Al, have you seen these other ones? Stephen...
Well...
Go
Stephen C79 with possibly my favourite, an unsuspected member of the Ain't Club is # Jeremy Irons, who according to Wikipedia, once said in an interview about New Year's honours, I don't think it would be apt for the establishment to pull me in as one of their own, for I ain't.
Yeah.
Wow. That's It's sort of better coming from him because you know it would be delivered with a good timbre.
Do you know, I saw
Irons,
# Irons, on the One Show recently.
Oh, yeah.
And his boots were trending. They were the most actorish boots I've ever seen in my whole life. No civilian would ever wear those boots. They were actors' boots. They were brown and battered. They weren't like normal boots.
Were they over the trousers?
I took a picture of them. I took a screen grab. Of course they were over the trousers.
Yeah.
They were sort of Regency boots. They were very, he is on 200 a year, Mr. Irons. They were extraordinary. I'll show them you.
I wonder if when Jeremy Irons is between jobs, he feels rusty.
I like it. Did he used to be in the Levellers? He read some of T.S. Eliot's poetry on Radio 4, and you can get it as a CD. And on the front of that, even though he's just in a studio, he's got an enormous scarf. Great big. It's like him appearing out of a scarf like a coiled snake.
Smoking rollies.
Oh, I love it. I ain't. Good actor, though. Fair play to J.I.
Yeah.
I saw him in the Rover at Stratford in the 1970s.
Have we got time for a quick final ain't? Sarah says, I wonder if you should put in the ain't chair Grayson Perry. I'm reading his book, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Girl. On page 115, there's a picture of his mad kid's bedroom. It says, I was a mad kid, but now I ain't. I got out because I could paint.
Well, he's using it for rhyme. That's not so bad.
Is he, though?
I hope so. I've come to love Grayson Perry through Grayson Perry's Art Club, which is, I think, one of the finest TV shows of recent times.
Gosh.
And joking, I ain't.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We've had a good email that I would like to bring to your attention, Frank, because it's about a subject that you brought up mere moments ago on the radio show that we're doing. It's entitled Pricked Sausage.
Oh, yeah.
It begins, good morning, everyone. During the Second World War, sausages used to have a very high water content due to the rationing of meat to fill out the sausage. You know what I mean? They put it in the water. When cooked, they had to be pricked, otherwise the water would cause them to explode, and that's why they have the nickname bangers. Today's sausages... It's good, that, isn't it? It's interesting.
It is.
Today's sausages, especially the more expensive ones, have very little water content. It's still good practice to prick them because of the expansion of the meat inside. I hope this helps. And then there's some praise, and that's from Paul from Failsworth, Manchester. That is good knowledge.
That is bangers. I did not know that. And people, I find that our fellow presenters are always talking about playing bangers and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I'm never quite sure what the definition of a banger is. Is it one that you... Because Allard Jones on his show on Classic FM says we're going to play a banger now, and it's like a Sousa March or something like that.
Right.
And,
absolute banger from Handel coming up.
Yeah, exactly. That's not good, though. Nonsense. What else from the old outside world, whoa, the outside world. Oh, I can smell the herring. Yes,
We've
Carol.
got...
Are you okay, Emily?
It's reference to herring. We've had some... do you remember we've also been talking about people who are actually lovely off air?
Oh, yes. Nice celebrities that I have met. Not I have met, but I mean whoever has met.
Yeah. Nice.
It's interesting that we feel that is the remarkable thing, to meet a nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah, who we got?
We've got a nicest celebrity, Viggo Mortensen. You familiar with his work? Google him. I was doing extra work after leaving school.
Is he an action hero?
I was doing extra work after leaving school. This is like my childhood. And I was in a battle scene.
Okay.
Stunt guys roughing me up, as I was one of only a couple of extras that day, and I was getting paid the same. He stopped the scene, and I believe got very angry because people were roughing him up. And he came along for a chat and a drink, and he was so nice. I had a cut above the eye, a bit sore, but no stitches and a good yarn. As you were, Simon. There are people you can talk to about this, you know.
Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to be acting, isn't he? So Viggo got friendly with the Atmos.
He was lovely. And then we've got also Derek. Derek from Kirkcaldy.
Kirkcaldy.
Okay, Kirkcaldy.
I should have left that to Al. He's a Scotsman, but I'm pretty confident it's Kirkcaldy.
Al, how do you say it? Kirkcaldy.
Kirkcaldy, but I present as English. So,
Okay.
you know.
I didn't meet him, but I had a
Don't be
crazy
fooled.
event with Michael Palin. I was running for a flight with the gate closing at Manchester. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught someone I knew, waved, and said, "Can't stop, see you later." Boarded my flight and thought, OMG, that was Palin.
Because you wanted to, that was at the time when you wanted to see him at an airport. Because he was the most travelled man. I remember
He
doing
really
stretching. There was 3 mats for stretching. When I used to go to the gym, I went to the gym because I was naked in a theatrical performance. And there was 3 stretching mats, and I was on one mat, Palin was on the next, and Eleanor Bonham Carter on the other.
What a sandwich.
Yeah, it didn't come to that. Anyway, Sarah Champion's up next. Listen to Sarah. I'm going to tell you, episode 3 of my poetry podcast will be available on Wednesday. It's Jen Hadfield who wrote an incredible collection of poetry called The Stone Age, which is all about Shetland and mystical island stuff. It's brilliant. And the first 2 are still available from wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, so stay frosty. And thanks so much for listening today. And if the good Lord spares us, it was a strange show. I can only apologise. You know what? Even Homer nods.
Yeah.
So if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back home this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.